Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our July AI and marketing session. I'm Nicola, co-founder of CMO Circle. James, my other half, is currently off camping for the week, and we've got a really exciting lineup today. After many requests, we have finally managed to steal Meg from Canva, where she is the growth strategist for EMEA, and she's going to be talking us through how to future-proof your marketing playbook. And then we have Jessie and Sarah, two seasoned CMOs, sharing how to move from SEO to BDO. And don't worry if you don't know what that means, because I didn't, I just had to check. So they will be explaining all. And as I requested, please do introduce yourselves in chat. Love to know if you are a Canva user, and if so, what are your primary use cases? And ask questions as we go, because we'll be stopping after each session to answer any of those. And just so you all know, we are recording this and we do have the decks, and everyone has very kindly agreed to share them. So you don't need to be frantically taking screenshots and notes. You can fully engross yourself in the session, and I will send everything, links, recommendations afterwards, I promise. So without further ado, we're going to hand over to Meg.
Great, thank you very much. And I am going to share my screen and hope that this all works properly. You should hopefully see my presentation now. Shout if you can't.
Obviously in Canva.
Obviously. Had to be done. Great. Well, thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Nicola. And so interesting to see all the different use cases and those who use Canva and those who maybe don't quite yet or who know about it from their teams. I'm really excited to be here today. So thank you so much for having me. I, within my role, work quite closely with lots of different marketing teams. And so I've seen the kind of pressure that we're all under, pressure to do more, pressure to go faster, pressure to get better results, and all of that, typically with limited resources, which is always fun. And in the midst of like these challenges, we've also got AI that's, kind of suddenly appeared. And it's a great opportunity, but you might feel the same way. I feel like it's an amazing opportunity, but also feels like there's lots of questions around it and lots of things to be answered. So when I was thinking about this presentation today, I thought about sharing AI in Canva with you, but from two different lenses. One, which is a bit more about how we think about AI and incorporating it into our marketing strategy. So what we do from an internal strategic perspective. And then from a more tactical standpoint, share with you the different AI tools that are available to you within the Canva platform to optimize your workflows and ideally even improve them. And then, as Nicola said, we'll have a couple of minutes at the end for questions if you have any. So if we start with that kind of strategic side, here are a couple of strategies that we think about when we're incorporating
Meg, we
AI.
can't see your deck, I don't think.
Oh, you can't see my deck. Okay. Let's.
Have you all got it?
I can see it.
You've all got it. Okay, great.
I can see it.
Great.
Okay, perfect. Maybe I should have tested it instead of talking of holidays at the beginning. But great if you can see it. So these are a couple of strategies that we think about as we kind of lay out our marketing strategy and our marketing playbooks. The first one may sound a little bit silly, or a bit basic, let's say, but I see a lot of teams that miss this out. And that is, rather than just using AI kind of randomly per se, it's really thinking about where AI is going to add value, have an impact, and including it more strategically within your marketing playbook. The second one, which is something that's really important to us at Canva, is making sure that we create space for all of our teams to experiment. That means experimenting with different tools. That means experimenting with different use cases, etc. That is really where you'll start unlocking the creativity that AI has to give. The next one, which ties into our first one, is integrating AI, with intention. So what we like to do is really analyzing the different workflows that we've got within marketing, but also in other teams, and really understanding where it is within that workflow that AI will really make a difference. Okay, and once you do that and integrate it in your day-to-day or in your team's day-to-day, that's really where you'll start seeing adoption and therefore results. The next one, another really important one for us, is that brand is core to us as Canva. You can see me with my background. We want people to be creative. We want people to experiment, but not at the sacrifice of our brand. So what we do is we put guardrails in place to make sure that people can use AI, but that our brand is safe and we show up on the market as we wish to show up. Another one, which is one of my favorites, is, I don't know if you would feel the same, but when I hear AI, I see it associated with speed, with efficiency. And rather than just thinking about how can we do what we do today quicker, I would encourage you and encourage our teams to think about how we can actually go further. What more can we do with these new cool tools that we have available to us? And then last but not least, and this ties into the second point, is not making sure that you don't just reserve AI to a specific member of the team or to a specific team. We really want everyone to start adopting it, to start thinking about it, to start thinking about how they can incorporate it into their workflows and then tie back to strategic objectives. So hopefully all of that makes sense. A couple of things that we think about that I encourage you also to have a little think about as well. But now to the juicy part, how can we actually put some of these in action in the Canva platform? And the one thing that I'll say before I jump into the demo itself is I will be going quite quickly because I want to leave enough time for Jessie and Sarah to share their wonders with us as well. So I will be going quite quickly, pressing on some buttons, etc. If you're struggling to follow, like, where's she pressing? What is she doing? Please don't worry. Firstly, as Nicola said, this is recorded. And secondly, what I would really encourage you to do during this demo is focusing more on remembering what can actually be done and kind of picturing it as potentially in your teams, etc., versus trying to remember everything and how I've done it, if that makes sense. Cool. So without further ado, let's jump in. So here I'm jumping into the Canva platform. So if you're still stuck on my presentation, please let me know. We're good. Okay, cool. So Canva, I saw some people who maybe weren't familiar with Canva, so just a high-level explanation of what it is. It is a design platform with a mission to empower everyone to design any type of content. Okay. And recently we've really had a focus on marketing teams and helping them or building tools that will help them accelerate and be more efficient within their workflows. And so with that in mind, we've sprinkled what we like to call magic, i.e. AI, throughout the platform. And although I won't be able to show you all the AI tools that we've got today, because there are plenty in there, I wanted to focus on a couple that I think can really make a difference to your workflow and to your team's workflow. So to bring this whole example to life, I'm going to tell you the story of a company called Co-Company. As you can imagine, it's a fake brand. And so Co-Company had this really cool idea for the summer of creating a campaign promoting work from anywhere. And so what they did in terms to start off like brainstorming and ideation, they jumped into a Canva whiteboard. And they started thinking about, what the goal was for this campaign, what the audience was, and started popping down a couple of ideas to really bring this campaign to life. And so this is great, right? It's a whiteboard is super cool to start brainstorming, to get those creative juices flowing, etc. But it's not really ideal when you're looking to come back and think of the campaign or potentially share it with other stakeholders. So one of the things that I would recommend Co-Company to do is actually to transform this whiteboard into a document by using our AI. So if we jump to the top left here, there's a button called resize. It's good to know that any content in Canva, you can automatically resize it into different formats. But here we're actually using something a little bit different, which is our magic switch. So for any type of content, you can switch it into a different language through Translate or switch it into a different type of document. And so here what I'm looking for is essentially a campaign summary in a doc. And so I'm going to press transform into a doc. And what it's going to do is analyze all the different pieces of information on my whiteboard, and from there generate a campaign summary that I can easily read, share with my team, share with any other stakeholders. Cool. So here you can see that it's kind of highlighted all the key different messages. And here, what I would invite the team, the co-company team, to do is make any changes they see relevant, etc. But it's already accelerated a big part of the process. Another thing that I would recommend them to do here is, rather than just doing everything manually, they could just press on this little plus, and what you'll see is another piece of magic. By the way, a tip for all of you: any AI within Canva is kind of marked with these little stars to represent the magic of Canva. So anywhere where you see these stars is a bit of Canva AI. So here I'm going to click into our Magic Write, which is essentially your kind of text generator, which is powered by OpenAI. And I'm going to ask it to add an overview. So here we can generate text from scratch. And what it's going to do is, again, look at all the document that we've got here and kind of summarize the key parts of it, or give us an overview. So this is great, but potentially a little bit long. So let's do this, but shorter. And once again, generate it. So here in a couple of minutes, we're starting really to kind of finalize this campaign overview. And so you can generate text from scratch within Magic Write, but another thing that you can do, I mean, you've got a couple of other things. You can rewrite the text, you can shorten it, add some different tones to it. But one thing that I love, especially thinking about what I was saying before and making sure your brand is secure, is the possibility to apply our brand voice. So here I've already got the brand's voice stored somewhere for co-company. So I'm just making sure it really sounds like us. And one thing to know, Magic Write, I'm showing this to you in a doc, but you can use it in any other content within Canva. So for example, if you're building out a social media post or a presentation or any other type of document, you can use Magic Write and so apply your brand voice anywhere. Cool. So we've started our phase of ideation. Now let's actually move into the creation of the content for our campaign. So what Co-Company decided is they wanted to build out assets that promote different cities within Europe that people like to work from in Europe. And so what they've decided to do is quite a simple asset with a nice picture of the city itself. A bit of text saying what the city is, and then a nice tagline which relates to working from that city. So for Split, morning surf, afternoon strategy. Okay, cool. And so they created this particular asset in about 10 minutes, maybe a bit quicker if they had a pre-template made. But they want to do it for about 15 cities. So they've got two options: either duplicate it and build it 15 times, or what I would recommend them to do is jump into this new doc type that we've got, as we call them, which is called Canva Sheets. So Canva Sheets, you can kind of guess it from the name. It's a spreadsheet powered by Canva. But what's really cool is that we've got lots of magic sprinkled within it to enable you to go faster. So here they're using it as a campaign planner. They've popped all the different cities that they want to cover and so that they want to use this asset for. They've started putting the tagline. They've selected the images. So here, for those who don't know, we've got an elements library where you've got plenty of different pieces of content that you can use. And they just selected different images for each of the cities. So cool. So now what that means is that we've got all the dynamic elements for that post or for those different assets. Actually, we just need the tagline because we're missing the tagline for a couple of the city. So what we're going to do is, rather than writing it all down manually, we are going to highlight all the empty cells. And then what I'm going to do is go into actions. Actions is where you can see there's the little star, is where you'll find all the AI bits for sheets. And I'm going to go into a button that's called Fill Empty Cells. And what it's doing here is it's analyzing the full table and filling it up with the content that it feels is relevant. So here it's given me some nice taglines for all of them. I probably want this a little bit shorter so it fits into my design and I don't have too much text. And here, in a few seconds, it's generated all of them for us. Here, once again, I could apply my brand voice, etc. And of course, in a real scenario where I don't only have 10 minutes, I would review all of these. But as you can see, it's a great gain of time. So now I actually have all of the different elements to create my assets. And so what I'm going to do is, rather than creating them all by one, I'm going to bulk create them. I'm selecting all of the elements that I need for my assets. I'm going back into actions onto a button that's called bulk create. Here, I'm just going to find the original template that I was using. Perfect. And what I'm going to do is just select different elements of the template and connect them to the right column. So here's where I want all the images. Here is where I'll want all the taglines. And this is where I want all the cities. And then in one click, I will have created this for 10 because I somehow forgot 5. But what you can see is that you've created 10 different designs. And if we go into a folder here, I can showcase one of these. For all those 10 different cities that we wanted. So for example, Lisbon, Portugal, we've got the right tagline, beautiful picture of Lisbon, and it looks great. So hopefully that kind of showcases to you how quickly you can create content within Canva. But then we won't stop here, right? We're thinking of the idea of, usually we create content in English, but now that we've gone so quickly in creating the English content, potentially let's create all of this in French and Spanish, where we've also got markets where we've also got potential. So once again, I'd go back into my actions here. I'd see a translate button and I'd say, perfect, I want to translate this whole page into French. And what would happen here is all of the text here, all of the elements would be translated into French. And then I just need, once again, to bulk create in a couple of seconds so that we'd have these 15 bits of content also in French. Could do the same for Spanish. All right, so once again, now we've created 20 pieces, 20 assets that we can use straight away. Another thing that you could do, because right now we've only created it as LinkedIn posts, but we've actually got, Instagram, which is a strong channel for us. So what we could do here is actually select all of our designs and say, okay, we don't just want it in LinkedIn, or we don't just want it as a LinkedIn post, but we actually want it as an Instagram reel. So I'm going to click into resize designs. Make sure that I've selected all the designs that I want to resize, continue, and then pop as an Instagram reel. And here what you'll see is that all of these have been duplicated into an Instagram reel. So I've got for each city, I've got a LinkedIn post and then an Instagram reel. Perfect. So hopefully there's so many ways to use this, but it kind of shows you how you can do all of this at scale. Another one that I particularly love is if you're working with any headshots or things like that, and you want to remove the backgrounds of these in bulk. Same thing, you would just select all of the column with your headshots, and then just click background remover here at the top. And in a couple of seconds, you see it's all the backgrounds have been removed, which is super cool. So a couple of ideas from a content creation perspective that show you how much quicker you can go with some of these AI tools. Another one that I wanted to show you when it comes to content creation, which is generating content from scratch, is if you go back on the homepage and jump into Canva AI here, there's a couple of different things that you can also generate from scratch. So think about a design. Let's say you wanted a specific presentation. You could describe everything that you wanted and then ask Canva to design it for you. You could then jump into the editor and make sure that everything was right and make any changes that you would like to make. Similarly, you can create an image from scratch or a video from scratch. I actually created one to show you here within the theme of our campaign. which is just this nice kind of cinematic like version of something that I would want to create for my campaign. And to show you, I just gave it quite a specific prompt and generated that video. And there's a last thing that I want to show you, which is Canva Code in terms of content creation, which is a kind of coding like agent that will help you code kind of any widgets that you might want to use. So an example of what I've created for myself internally is an ROI calculator, where instead of having these big like modeling sheets where I have to have all these formulas, I've just created an ROI calculator. I put in the inputs and it gives me the return that I can expect. So it's great for business modeling and any initiatives that I want to launch. Another example of how I've used it is building out a quiz for marketing teams in terms of measuring how their brand is doing. So lots of different ideas. I would invite you, if it's something that interests you, to kind of play around within. With all of these, there's a bit of prompt engineering, so making sure that you ask the right prompt, and it takes a bit of time to get used to it. But also remember that you can use tools like Magic Write to actually help you craft those prompts. One last thing before I let you ask questions is a big part of marketing, as we were talking about before, is showing the results. And so one of the things that's super helpful within Canva is the possibility to essentially query your data. So here I'm back into a sheet. You can see all the metrics that we've tracked for each of the posts. And I'm just going to go into actions here, and you'll see something called Magic Insights. Magic Insights enables you to query the data within here. So if I say, for example, which post performs the best, it's going to analyze the whole of this spreadsheet and give me some answers, but also generate some nice visual charts that I can either use within here or potentially add to presentations, etc. So it's super cool. It's a gain of time. If you're not a friend of, spreadsheets and formulas and things like that, it's really great. And it also just goes a lot quicker. So here you can see it's telling me which posts have performed the best, and given me some nice charts that I can include here. So there you go. That's the last thing I can share today. I could speak on for hours and hours about everything. The last thing that I would say is I am running some more face-to-face sessions like this one, a little bit longer. So if it is something that interests you, I think that Nicola is going to share this with you. So please feel free to sign up. And I will stop there and answer any questions.
Meg, first of all, can you just tell us a little bit about the sessions you're going to be running? Because I think everyone here, if they're anything like me, is going, oh my God, this is really magical. And I have no idea about half the functionality that Canva has.
Yeah, and don't worry, you're not the only ones. I mean, even internally, we struggle to know everything that we can do, but it's a bit of that we'll have some meetups that are more around talking about specific brand topics and really digging into how to make a strong brand, even if we don't have loads of resources. And then some other sessions which will be a bit more like this one, hands-on. How do we use Canva together?
Great. So it'll be bring your laptops, get involved.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Now, Adam had a great question. If you want to share, Adam.
Yeah, sure. Hey, Megan, thanks for walking through that. For declaration, I am not a Canva user yet.
Okay.
I like the yet.
Yeah, So my question is, what kind of integrations does Canva have so that when you've produced these lovely images or what have you, to push them into the platforms where we're using them? So for example, into Meta for ad campaigns or into HubSpot or another CRM to avoid the classic fun job of download and upload.
Yeah, completely. So we do have obviously the fun possibility of upload and download. But if you go, this is where we share all of our content. If we go into here and see all, you'll see all the different elements that we integrate with. So you can directly tie it to your social media accounts. We've also got a content planner if you want to use that. And if you were to use a platform like HubSpot, you've also got the possibility to integrate that with Canva directly.
Fab. Good to hear.
Yeah.
Victoria, I think you had a couple of questions about integrations.
Hi.
Hi.
So I think my first question was the images that you had, were they AI generated or you put them manually for every city in your example
Yeah,
here.
these ones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I did just to showcase is basically I just clicked on this, then went into elements, said Lisbon, found a picture that I liked, popped it in, and that was done. But you
Okay,
could also generate them by AI, up to you.
okay. So I saw your Claude integration that it still has some issues with templates, trying to figure it out. When are you integrating with ChatGPT and make, what is the plan on more automated workflows?
Yeah, so we've got strong relationships with Anthropic and with OpenAI. I think the natural progression is that they'll come relatively quickly. We've already got some that we're testing kind of internally.
Eve, you had a question. I don't know if you're able to come off mute.
Yeah, sorry, I know that you're going through it quickly. I was trying to keep up on some stuff. Just this slide that you're on now, you've explained how you generated the images. You then went on to talk about the copy, which is AI generated copy. So did you put in a brief to the AI and then say like, and then you optimize that with prompts and then you say, do this for Lisbon, Malta, whatever?
Yeah, great question. And it did go very quickly. It's actually simpler than that. So what I'm doing is I'm just selecting the empty cell, and what the AI will do is say, okay, here I've got cities, here I've got taglines, which seem to be a bit about where the place is and a bit about working. So I'm gonna replicate this for all the other cities. So there's not even a prompt there. It's just kind of intelligent working. But you can, of course, then add more details to whatever you're looking to prompt.
Right. How did you get the first one then? How does the first one come up? Is that with a prompt?
These were ones that I wrote down myself.
Okay, so that's human, and then you're using the AI to adapt to expand on it and adapt it. Okay.
Exactly. But to answer your question, you could also generate it with a prompt.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Cal, I think you've got some questions.
Yeah, hi Megan, thanks so much. This is super useful. I am a Canva user, but I haven't been using the AI elements anywhere near as much as you've been showing. I've just got a question about the images that are either generated through AI or kind of live within the Canva platform. What's the royalty situation on those? Are they royalty free? Are we able to use them in campaigns that we generate?
Yes, the easy answer is yes. So all of these, depending on what access you've got, some of the may be protected, pro, etc. But any of these that you use, you're able to directly use. If you want to do reference the creator, you'll see that if you do these 3 clicks, you know exactly who will have generated it.
Cool, thank you.
We do have a lot more resources around like those elements if you want to get to understand that a little bit more.
Okay. And Mel?
Hi. Yeah, my question's just about kind of input in terms of branded imagery. I think one of the challenges that I'm working on is switching to a world of imagery which is not generic within the category. So to what extent, I mean, these images here, obviously this is an example, but I mean, there's no brand strategy, obviously, that you're demonstrating here. How does this tool enable brands to upload a kind of core set of master imagery and then kind of riff on those in order to create assets that are distinctive versus likely to be easily replicated by any other brand in their space?
Completely, and great question. So the tool that we have for brand specifically is what we called our brand kit, where you would keep all your kind of core brand elements. So think logos, think your colors, your fonts, but also folders and folders of different elements that you might want to use. So here, instead of having this, I could just go into our brand kit and paste this one instead, for example. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and to what extent, like, I'm just wondering if there's what I'm trying to help my business understand is like you get out what you put in, right? So the more real life imagery you have, the better you're likely to be able to generate assets that actually look distinctive, ultimately memorable. Do you think that there's a kind of certain threshold of images, etc., that a brand is likely to require in order to be able to make the most out of the platform and avoid assets that become relatively generic?
Well, it kind of depends on how your brand is, but what we tend to do, for example, in Canva, is have plenty of templates that are available to us, so we can create lots of different contents. But the actual pool of images will be potentially a bit lower. So we'd have thousands of templates versus whatever. That's not a good example, but thousands of templates versus hundreds of images, and then even use some of these, you know, if it makes sense. But then obviously the more you have within your kind of brand kits and within it, the more it will feel like you, if that makes sense. It just depends how important image is in your brand.
Got it. Thank you. Really helpful.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wrap up there with one last question. So Meg, if people aren't really super users of Canva and this whole Canva magic piece is new, what would be one piece of advice to just go and get started? What would you suggest they do?
It would literally be go and get started, because that's the best way to really uncover and like apply your own use cases to it. So I would say just get started. If you get stuck on any page within Canva, you've got this little question mark down there, and this is an assistant. So here you can see I've asked it a couple of questions, and it will tell me exactly how to do things. So if you're like, I know I can bulk create, I can't remember how to do it, please tell me, and then you can go and test it and get familiar with the tool.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And
you.
also do sign up to these Rise sessions. They look amazing. And are they kicking off in September?
That's right, kicking up in September.
Great. So the link is in the chat, and I will also share it with the recording as well, along with all of these amazing resources. And yeah, we'll be checking in a month and see how everyone's getting on.
Yes, we'll have
I
a
may be stealing you back again for another session towards the end of the year because that was so valuable. Yeah, I'm feeling like a real basic user now. And we might have 5 minutes at the end for any more questions as well. But now I'm going to hand over to Jessie and Sarah.
Thanks, Nicola. And thanks, Megan. That was great. Right, so we're talking about the movement, the shift from SEO to GEO. A lot of people are talking about this at the moment. That's search engine optimization to generative engine and AI optimization. Everyone's talking a lot about the mechanics of how to combat that. I don't know how many people on this call are seeing a drop in traffic on their websites or 0 clicks in the last month. Be interesting to see in the chat. Everyone's talking about the mechanics about it, but no one's really talking about the longer term effect of what's going to happen. So what we're seeing is less and less people are coming through search, more and more people are coming through generative and AI engines as they do queries that shift from lexical queries, which are our keywords that we're used to contextual, as they're doing longer questions. And it means that what's happening is instead of doing kind of doing a long list and interacting with numerous brands before coming to a shorter list of businesses or brands they want to interact with, they're shortcutting that, which is reduced as a marketeer, it's reducing our opportunities to actually engage with our end user. So our rule of 7, where we had more opportunities, we had the traditional funnels. Somebody came into our website, they searched for us, they came in, somebody could look at us and long list us. Now they are not doing that. The bot's doing that. But what's really quite vital is at the moment, it's all very reactive. So search is reactively driven. A user goes online, says, hello, can you, it doesn't say hello, that's in generative. They'll type in coffee shop near me, coffee shops will come up. They go into generative and they say, can you tell me where there's a really nice coffee shop that's near me that allows dogs and toddlers running around and blah, blah, blah. And the chat GPT will come up with a couple of different solutions, but that's still reactive. What's coming and what's actually here already but hasn't actually been implemented is agentic web. And that is where rather than reacting to a query, AI is going to be coming to me and saying, you usually go for coffee at 1 o'clock on a Friday. Why don't you try this new coffee shop? Which means I won't even be looking for something. The AI is going to be bringing it to me, which is reducing our opportunity as marketeers to interact with our customers increasingly and increasingly, which means that we're going to have to be building our brand and being smarter about building our brand across multiple channels so that we can perform better, not only from a geo perspective and showing up in search, but from a kind of brand and cutting through and brand visibility and brand discovery perspective. So this conversation is not about SEO to GEO and how to optimize your performance in GEO. It's about SEO to GEO and optimizing that performance from a brand discoverability perspective to make sure that your brand is visible, it's engaging with your users, you're saying the right things, and you're setting yourself up for success in an increasingly agentic world.
Thanks, Sarah. And the eagle-eyed among you might have noticed that this deck was built in Canva. So thank you, Meg. Really appreciate that. But I learned so much in your talk that I did not know that I was not doing. But thank you for that setup, Sarah. We're Two Fish. We are fusing legacy brand building mastery and PR experience with cutting-edge digital marketing and AI expertise. As Sarah said, we are not a traditional SEO agency. If you're looking for technical skill sets, we have that, but what we're talking about is the bigger holistic brand discovery aspect. And what we're doing is bringing that expertise to bridge the widening chasm between siloed marketing functions and the AI-driven landscape that we find ourselves in now. I'm Jessie. I'm one of the co-founders of Two Fish. I have 25 years experience in global brand building and strategic PR. And Sarah is the CMO of Future and another Two Fisher, and brings an incredible amount of digital marketing expertise from her roles at Google and eBay.
So just a little bit of context. I'm sure that everyone's seen, there's been a few different webinars on this. I know that Rob's done some stuff, Pops has done some stuff, so I won't bore you with lots of details, but the rise of AI, generative engine optimization, type and click era is over. How people are discovering brands has fundamentally changed. I think Cal has mentioned in chat that she's seeing a drop in organic search. Organic click-through rates have actually dropped 30% in 5 years. I was in an event with some charities a few weeks ago, and CI UK have had 0 clicks in May. So it's happening, it's here. The rise of social search, we have had, I think Pops had talked about this, and also Reddit when they came in. Gen Z are opting for more consumable content, and actually the likes of TikTok and Reddit and YouTube are all feeding into LLMs. So if you search, I did a search the other day, I'm going on holiday next week for everybody that missed that, and I was trying to book a travel car. No, I was trying to book an airport transfer. Anyway, I ended up going on generative, and I asked what was better to get, where can I get a transfer from, and should I get a transfer or should I hire a car? And the search results, when they were attributed and cited back, were coming from Reddit. So I ended up going onto Reddit and having a look on that, and that was really good, by the way. But the fact is that Reddit, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram are all feeding generative search. So social is super important. And then the rapidity of the adoption. About 18 months ago, there were stats saying that they thought that search, generative search would hit 26% by the end of 2026. But the reality is it's more like 40+%, depending on what stats you see. And ChatGPT hit 365 billion annual searches in 2 years and grew 5.5 times faster than Google ever did. And almost 90% of B2B buyers are using generative AI in the purchasing process. So we are in a paradigm shift at the moment. So we need to get ahead of it. So there's an opportunity for outsized earned share of voice, because AI and LLMs want credible, distinctive, specialized knowledge. This is super important from a brand perspective, which we all know, right? The more we can build our brand, the more niche we can be, the more we can say the right thing to the right customers at the right time, the more standout we can have. But the good news is LLMs are actually looking for that content at the same time. So our objectives were aligned. Currently, 70 to 80% of answer space for non-branded queries is claimed by major brands, which is a shocking number for anyone that's from a smaller one. But that means that there's an opportunity where 20 to 30% currently is wide open for disruptors. And this is a personal thing, but I strongly believe that it levels the playing field. The better we all start doing creating that content that is authentic, that resonates, we're using all the right channels, and we're using social more. Not only can we can take over that 20 to 30%, I think that we can start to gain ground on the enterprise level of people. Yeah, so we need to stop playing by old big brand rules and move forward. So the modern discovery mix, just having a look at how you're performing on GEO, having a look at your overall search audit, starting with where and how audience is searching, checking your brand visibility, so the brand visibility is super important. The more you're cited, the more, it's the same as SEO. So it's all about brand authority, brand domain, and citations. So those citations are all important. Authenticity is super key. I don't know if anyone noticed, it was a bit beginning of June, end of May, LinkedIn paused loads of people's posts. I certainly had it. And what it had done, they'd kicked into the algorithm to try and prevent anybody that looked like a robot. So it held all posts. And then all of a sudden, you might retrospectively think of it, a week or so later, a week and a half, suddenly really old posts started getting loads and loads and loads of impressions and likes and interactions. And it's because the algorithm had stopped everything to try and stem the flow of the bots and then released everything that looked human. And LLMs are becoming smarter and deliberately looking for that kind of activity. So authenticity is really important. Amplification, I think it goes back to brand visibility and citations, but also the social piece, making sure you are where your audience lurks and talks. I'm trying to get my team to look at Reddit at the moment, and I'm getting a lot of pushback because everyone thinks it's shit. But it goes back to the fact that we aren't necessarily our target audience. So we need to think like our target audience, not ourselves. And then finally, organic search. There's own content, mentions in editorial review sites. I mean, before, a few years ago, content was dead to all, according to people. Now content is well and truly king. So the authority race, AI is flattening content. So specificity and standout POVs will set you apart. I think this is just really repeating what I've just said. Yeah, so AI doesn't care who makes the content. It cares it's trusted and cited. So anyone that's doing influencer marketing, and Caroline, you and I had a really good chat about it, so thanks for your advice. That's influencer marketing is going to come more important. Being on those sites that are trusted and known is really important. So PR is going to become front and center. Brand is really important, which will be music to all of our ears. And GEO, so brand and performance are increasingly coming together, and working separately is not going to work. So introducing BDO, Brand Discovery Optimization, we like to call it. So it's a new operating system for how customers are choosing you, not just finding you. So Jessie, over to you.
Thank you, Sarah. And I know another acronym, we're really sorry, but we think it really works. It's not just another acronym, it's a pivotal integrated marketing framework that makes all of this theory into actionable actions for you to make sure your brand doesn't just get found on AI, but also converts in the AI age. It fuses these three very different and powerful silos within the AI era. So strategic PR, authority, as Sarah was just talking about, is a key driver of AI visibility. So getting earned when others cite and discuss your brand, which we'll talk on. Brands building, anybody who works at upper funnel and upstream knows that fostering emotional and memory impact at every touch point drives salience and customer trust, and not just machine trust. It's creating that online and offline feedback loop. So when your brand does get found online, you have the memory structures in your customers to drive that conversion. And then, of course, the technical aspects of geo, structuring and optimize your content for LLMs and AIs, not just humans. And if we put at the center is your brand and your competitive advantage. So diving into strategic PR, backlinks used to be the primary signal of authority, but now earned brand mentions are the new keywords. In the new geo-lit landscape, brand mentions, expert citations, and presence in trusted third-party media publications are key signals of trust and credibility. And it's clear from the research, 61% of all AI answers come from a third-party media, and that's media publications, traditional media, making earned media the lead driver. And if we look at key reputation pillars like trust and value, editorial media sources were cited even more frequently, 65% to 72%. And as we get to looking at brands, trust is a huge driver of purchase and intent to convert. But what's really interesting is what I call others say, and this is where we start to talk about multifaceted organic planning. And others say is not just traditional media titles, but how others are talking about your brand in wherever they are, wherever their community congregates. With those brands mentioned, this community conversations ranking highly. Earned citations build AI credibility, it's driving discoverability and trust. And you need more than just paid owned content. You need to earn attention and get people talking about you. So AI is remixing the playlists of where people are finding, where it's finding credible third-party sources. They trust editorial reviews in community ecosystems. So while traditional media plays a huge role, as we've just saw in the previous slide, your communities are talking about you in unexpected places. Now, on the right, we have a pie chart of an audit we did from a client in a tech space. And as you can see, this was an audit of where their brand was being discussed. And as you can see, it's a real mix of places that, as a traditional media planner, you probably really wouldn't have on your radar. So it's really understanding where your customers are talking about you, where they're citing at you, what they're talking about, and becoming part of that conversation by earning attention and creating content that speaks to them and adds value, but also deploying a multifaceted brand mention strategy. Now, interestingly, paid ads won't save you if you want AI discoverability. LLMs draw primarily from editorial citations, independent review sites, Wikipedia and Reddit, and user forums, which we've just saw in that previous slide. And in audit after audit, every major paid search spenders often find little to no increased answer box visibility unless they've achieved earned editorial or third-party authority references. So it's not, AI is not going to save people with big brand budgets. It's people with big PR and brand budgets that are going to drive success. So brand building in an AI world, brands need to resonate with humans and machines on and offline to drive conversions. It's not about just being chosen in that answer box. It's not just about being found, it's about being chosen and converting. So you need to be driving a consistent brand experience all the time across every touch point to drive memorability, trust, and salience. And as we've seen, as we all know on this call, increased trust is a key driver for purchase intent. 81% of customers must trust a brand to buy from it. Now, I don't know about you, but I am highly suspect, especially when I go to when I go to plan my holiday, and I used ChatGPT as well. I asked for a list of really beautiful places in Ibiza that I wanted to stay with a list of criteria. It returned a bunch, and I didn't trust it. I had to go off and do my own research and alignment. And had I known those hotels offline, I would have just easily made that connection. But because I didn't have that trust, I still had some friction in my buying process. So that trust is more likely to drive emotional salient brands are more likely to be chosen, 3 times more likely to be chosen. And that strong brand personality, value, and culture significantly fosters lasting emotional connections. And it's a really interesting feedback loop. By showing up consistently with the same narrative, both on and offline, builds trust and memory structures. So what can you do from a geo perspective, Sarah?
Well, I think we'll share this afterwards because there's a lot to go through and I'm just conscious about time. But yeah, Nicola's also been commenting in the chat. So adding LLMS text for AI guidance. So basically on the left-hand side, you've got everything that you should be doing for SEO, which I'm sure everybody is. Then in the middle, we've got stuff that crosses over both. So if you've got it already set up for SEO, you're winning. And then GEO, the few changes are optimizing for natural language, using clear conversational language, which is using the right language, but also framing it in the right way. So doing its questions, things like that. Regularly checking your AI visibility. That's a really good place to start anyway. Providing concise, direct answers to common questions, which are easily searched by the bots. And that's it. It's actually quite straightforward. You're on mute, Jessie.
Always caught out, always, even now. One brand that's doing BDO really, really well, we love, is Glossier. They're really just driving their community-driven content, and as we know, community and that tribalism is really driving attention. They're creating amazing amounts of user-generated content, ensuring frequent authentic mentions and positive reviews across a whole playlist of social and editorial and forum platforms. Their earned media and editorial mentions are off the charts, doing everything that AI loves. They're being widely listed in top beauty lists, trend articles, and influencer blogs, driving that credibility in Gen AI outputs. I have a really friendly AI digital presence with structured site content and FAQs, clear product data, making it easy for the machines to parse, cite, and recommend the brand. Really beautiful, strong brand narrative. It's very distinctive, relatable storytelling around authenticity, inclusivity, and simplicity, and they show up consistently across every touch point. You go in, and their retail experience extends as well. This isn't just about online. You go in and you can feel that brand experience into their really quite innovative retail stores as well, which are just driving traffic from teenagers like my daughter. Really active social media engagement, maintaining a vibrant online community, generating discussion naturally, which is being harvested by the machines. And the results are there. They speak for themselves. They have gained an immense amount of rapid online discoverability, which has directly correlated to double-digit sales growth. Just their strategic alignment in geo aligns with their ongoing success in building brand preference and top of the funnel demand into loyal customers. So what you can do today: humanize your brand, drive resonance with your audience both on and offline through emotional connection, audit, understand where you are and aren't on the discovery channel. Where do you appear in AI answers, if at all, and are you trusted there? Think like an organic media planner instead of a siloed channel planner. Understand and map where your customers are talking about you, like we saw in that pie chart. It could be really unexpected sources, and show up across the playlist of where your customers are, not where you think they're going to be. Earn attention and authority. Get people talking about you. Figure out where you can add, as a brand, can add significant value and entertainment to your customer, and create content that is entertaining and gets people talking. And then optimize for LLMs, which is the technical backbone. So measurement, I saw in the chat that, quite rightly, SEO is still driving the majority of, we're not there yet. We're not at the tipping point. SEO is still driving a significant amount of leads, but this is the future. This is coming. So this is about right now future-proofing your brand to make sure you don't get left behind as a defensive mechanism. But as Sarah mentioned at the top, there's also an outsized opportunity here to get on the forefront and take ownership of that 20 to 30% where the big brands aren't. So how do you sell this into how do you measure and how do you sell into your stakeholders? Well, it's leading with that future-proofing argument. And if you ignore geo today, you're going to be invisible in tomorrow's customer journey. Measurement. I've been in PR for so long. I know all about ambiguous measurement. And it's about creating correlation between what you're doing and the brand performance and commercial performance. So work backwards from your commercial and brand performance goals, define the triggers, the metrics, and track from there. Maximize and seize that outsized opportunity SEO visibility. Really simple, do regular geo audits to check your visibility. And then our own personal opinion is that AI platforms eventually are going to have to monetize. They're not driving profitability at all right now. There's a lot of question marks over, is this an AI bubble? Obviously, with the huge leaders and the amount of money that's going into it, that doesn't seem comprehensible. So Sam Altman has already said that they're really considering adding paid for real estate on the site. So if you can show up now, you have an even greater outsized share of voice, trust, and growth. So are you ready? How AI proof are you?
And Jessie, you're offering a free brand audit. How do people contact you about that?
They can email us down here at hello at Two Fish Agency.
Brilliant. We've got time for, I think, one question. And Darcy, I think you have a great one.
Okay. I've been wondering this for, sorry, my hair's all over the place. I've been wondering this for a while with the new AI results, but how do brands with small budgets or new to market with, again, not big budgets, how are they going to fare? Like, what do you guys recommend to those guys who are kind of going to get pushed out by people mentioned in Forbes and Bloomberg and TechCrunch and that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's back to well, small brands have always had to be scrappy, right? And we've always had to fight, and we've always had to be smarter than the bigger brands that are in TechCrunch and Forbes. So I don't think that really changes. I think it does mean embracing the other channels and social media that we haven't typically gone to. So if you're a B2B brand, you need to be on YouTube and Reddit. If you're a consumer brand, TikTok, YouTube, and probably Reddit. So it's just about being super, super smart there, finding budgets, finding an up and coming influencer that can get you mentioned, that they're also kind of covered as well. So it's just being smart and scrappy, like we always have had to be, Darcy.
I think it's a really great opportunity. So the big challenger brand, so I'm working, one of my projects at the moment is with Unilever, and they're huge brands, obviously, and they are really struggling to free the shackles of disruption, right? Because they have big Titanic mindset. But I think as a disruptor brand, there's a huge amount of opportunity to create content that really stands out. You have less restrictions and bans around you that are preventing you from creating that really distinctive content, that entertainment value that's going to drive attention of your audience and of the editorial. And that's what, if we talk about AI content, it's all flat, right? It all looks the same. And so we really need those spikes of creativity. And that's where disruptor and small brands can really have the opportunity to create standout. And in order to do that, it's about listening to your customer and understanding what your brand DNA overlap is and how you can add significant value to their world and dial into that world and then show up where they are. So I think you have an outsized opportunity, if not the budget.
Great, thank you very much.
And Jessie and Sarah, as the last word, what's one action that you think people should be taking to really set themselves up for success in this new AI world?
I would start with an audit, see where you are, what you're doing, and then make a plan. You need to know where you are. So that was my word.
Or in fact, Sarah, they can come for you and request a free audit.
Good point, well made.
Do some delegation. Thank you all so much for joining us. I want to let Meg go back to her holiday. Thank you so much for giving us an hour of your time, Meg, while you're actually in France with the family. And I know Sarah and Jessie, you're off next week, so have an amazing time. Really appreciate everyone joining us today. I'll be sending all the useful links, the decks, the recording over the next few days, and we'll be back in August.